Dave.
Ian.
This is Apex Adjacent. We normally mostly talk about cars. That's a lie. We don't. But we're going to start tonight with a public service announcement. 2 public service announcements about
PSAs.
About camping.
Oh, okay. All right.
So the first one is if you are someone who has an RV or rents RVs and goes to RV mixed sites where there's both RVs and tents. Here's what you want to not do is run your generator for 16 fucking hours straight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because everybody around you hates you.
Right. Yeah, there's RV sites for that. Yeah. But you don't do it when the person next to you that hears the generator just has a thin wall of canvas.
Yeah. And the other thing is, there's RV sites for that. There's also, if you want to sit in air conditioning all day, there are also hotels. Which I hear are available widely now.
Right. Yeah.
So you could do that.
Okay. I love it whenever we start the show with a segment, Ian has beefs. Yeah, you're like Arby's. You got the meats. Yeah.
Oh, I got the beefs.
Uh-huh.
Here's the other PSA is that if you want to find out a lot about your relationship with your significant other, camping is a great place to do it.
Okay.
And I received a great deal of information about my wife this last camping trip this last weekend. And here's what happened. I'm going to preface this with a couple of things. First off, we are very much in love. She loves and respects me. We've been together since the Coolidge administration.
You love and respect her.
And I love and respect her.
Right. Two-way street.
The former statement is a little more important, and you'll see why.
Oh, okay.
And the second thing is that the creation of this whole scenario is somewhat my fault. We'll explain that first. Okay, so we went camping this weekend with the family up in the mountains. It was lovely. It's nice to escape the heat and just gain a few thousand feet, and then the temperature drops. It's great. And so we put the children to bed one night, and it was late. It was like 11 o'clock at night, so it's really dark. The stars are gorgeous. The Milky Way was out. You could
sweet.
So many stars up there.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. But, you gotta walk to the bathroom. You gotta throw your garbage out in the bear safe dumpster, and then you walk back, right? And so we're walking around the loop in the campsite.
Right.
And this is where I need to say this is somewhat my fault, is that I'm fairly annoying about, like, if it's dark out, you don't use the headlamp. Like, if it's a clear night and the stars are out,
okay,
fucking turn that headlamp off.
Yeah.
Let your eyes adjust. You're gonna be fine. Just walk around in the dark a little bit, and it's lovely. You can see the stars. You can see the trees around you. It's great.
Right.
I have fairly good night vision. Jenny does not, and so we have our arms linked as we're walking around because she can't see as well as I can.
Sure, do-si-doing. Yeah.
Here's where the problem comes in. We are walking around, and we both, particularly Jenny, hears a noise, which she interprets as a bear.
Okay.
First thought, bear. Now, this is a very, she hears a bear, she does a thing. This is a window into my partner's soul, which you don't get these very often. And when they happen, you gotta pay attention, right?
Okay.
What she does. So you remember in Apollo 13 where they described the action of slingshotting themselves off of the moon to propel themselves forward?
Yeah.
That's what she did to me. She took me and used me as a counterweight and just she went, "Oh God, bear," and just threw herself forward, consequently throwing me back and just fucking took off
into the dark. Into
the dark. Can't see a thing.
Yeah.
Now, I also want to point out that I immediately identified the real source of the sound, which was a gentleman snoring in his tent. Loudly.
Some dude has sleep apnea, and he's just causing terror and panic in the hearts and minds of his fellow campers.
It's been 72 hours since this happened, and she has not stopped apologizing. It's the best.
I really like that she was just using you as like that as that experiment of like the physics teacher like throwing tennis balls on them while they're on the rolling chair. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah. Energy was conserved that day, my friend. Newton's law, whatever it is, I can't remember which one.
Yeah,
Newton's
equal and
law
opposite reaction is what she was demonstrating there, and I think though she only put a small amount of energy in, and the amount of energy I've gotten out of this though is it's nearly perpetual motion at this point.
Yeah,
it's funny as shit to me.
Physics hits hard, huh? Yeah. But
yeah.
I will say that I think here's what happened. Here's my explanation. I don't know if this has crossed either of your minds yet, but she is the mother of your children, and it was it was a deep primal maternal panic that she had to get to the children as soon as possible.
Oh, believe me, I've heard all sorts of these rationalizations.
Oh, okay. That's already come up. Okay.
She was like, well, if it was the children, I wouldn't do that. And I was like, okay, thanks.
So, I
guess.
Right. So I'm not as good as the children, the person that helped make them. Then again, you've had a vasectomy, so you're pretty much done for.
Biologically, I'm useless.
Infeasible. Yeah. Jenny decided to do her one-person reenactment of the movie Gattaca at that moment. Labeled you an invalid and got on the rocket ship, man.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I mean, it's true. I don't clean up my hair very well. So.
Yeah. Imagine if you had to be in the fire thing.
I would be in there for hours. Hours. It would take forever.
You come to the greatest automotive podcast in the known universe for those deep Gattaca cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking Noah Wiley. We're talking that
other. Who's in that?
Yeah. Who was the other guy? I can't remember. Yeah.
It's
Evan.
New Pope. No, he was
Jude Law.
Jude Law was in it.
Yeah, there we go.
Gwyneth Paltrow was in it too, right?
Yep.
Great movie. It's a great movie.
Oh, it's a fantastic movie.
But all I could think of while I was watching that was like, I would be so fucked
in the burn chamber or in the sanitization chamber, the exfoliation station.
I would do nothing but that. We were driving. So we're going to talk about RMDE again later.
Yeah.
I mean, we were driving a car for minutes, and you found some of my hair on the dashboard.
I did. You're right. You're shedding like a golden retriever.
Yes, and it was one of the cars where the brand reps was in the back too. So that was fun.
Yep. Ian, you can take Ian out of the car, but you can't really take Ian out of the car.
You can't. I'm going to leave DNA behind.
You would be the worst serial killer.
I would, yeah.
Caught instantly. Yeah. Oh man, buddy. Yeah. So you come for the Gattaca takes here at Apex Adjacent. You come for Ian's camping stories. Yeah. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here.
Would Ian's wife leave him for dead immediately? The answer is yes.
I'm going to get you a t-shirt that just says dead weight.
Yeah. Oh man.
For some reason, after that, all the family portraits were just Jenny and the kids.
Yeah. I mean, but honestly, the mileage that I'm going to get out of this is worth a mauling. Really. Like, I would take the mauling.
Did you make this Costanza correlation yet?
Immediately. It was George Costanza in the fire drill. And he's like,
pushing down the old lady. Well, you are the old lady in this scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 100% what happened. It was just like a primal instinct. Like, oh shit. And just like, get rid of this idiot.
It's at these moments we're at our most vulnerable. We are. We're our most honest selves and we're our most vulnerable. You know?
And my reaction was immediately to start cracking up. Like, I laughed. I think even if there had been a bear, I would have laughed.
You probably woke up the snoring man, right?
No, we did not, because he continued. And I was like, this is a guy snoring. Like, anyway, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, I'm glad you're still here. I'm glad you didn't get mauled by a bear, you know?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Ian.
I think some members of my family agree with you.
The thing that I'm looking forward to is like in 20 years when you tell the kids this story, right?
Yeah.
Like when they get like the perspective on it as adults, right?
Oh, I mean, I already told it to them. Yeah. Because we were watching we showed them Indiana Jones for the first time.
Oh, okay.
And,
okay.
The first movie. And there's a scene where, you know, they are in the Well of Souls with all the snakes.
Yeah.
And Marion gets dropped down and she climbs on top of Indy's head to avoid the snakes. And I was like, hey, just like your mother. Yeah. So, but by 20 years, they're going to be like, shut the fuck up about this guy snoring.
I like that. But this is one for the ages, man. Yeah, this is,
Definitely. This
is
a deep cut. I did ask her permission if I could tell this story on the show. And she said yes.
Right. Yeah.
And she was like, podcast?
Yeah, you're not just going into that room in your house for alone time once a week.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It turns out I've been in there with you.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow. Yeah. Ian, buddy, I honestly, I mean, we could end the show here. That's great.
Fantastic, right?
But so Ian, you're coming to us from a hotel unless you've massively remodeled your house. Yeah.
I'm going for hotel chic in the house.
Yeah, made it all fancy. Seems like you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I'm in a hotel.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I'm in tropical Ohio.
Okay. All right. And you have a rental car?
I do have a rental car. I have a Polestar 2 today.
What? You have a Polestar 2?
I do.
Whoa.
It's pretty fun. So I've only driven it I drove from the airport to a restaurant to have a work dinner, and then I drove here to the hotel. So I haven't driven a ton.
Okay.
First impressions are, it's lovely. I really like the interior. It's great. I don't love the infotainment.
Okay.
There are things about it that I don't like. It has Apple CarPlay, but not Android Auto, even though it's all Android powered. It's all Google.
Oh, that's a weird hill to die on. Yeah, okay.
It's strange. So there's the integrated Google stuff, but like the thing is that you can't get between things very easily. It's not very...
Okay. Yeah.
You know, I don't love it.
Yeah.
But the way it drives is great. I actually, the regen setting is very aggressive, which I really like.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of really get a rhythm with it. Like there was a couple of good like on-ramp curvy sections where I could kind of push it a little bit.
Okay.
And you can kind of get a rhythm with the regen one pedal driving.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's also very aggressive in reverse.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah, like the initial like tip in or whatever. I don't know how you would say it for an electric car, but tip in like
right.
when you first
like
start
that breakover torque or something, right?
Yeah, when you first start to touch the accelerator, it's not like linear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Gotcha.
Like you have to go a lot further in initially than you think you should have to if it was linear.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it ramps up, and then it's really fine adjustment as you get further into the pedal. So it's kind of weird.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And that works exactly how you think it should, but then like at the top of the pedal, there's like nothing. It's weird.
Oh, weird. Like some dead space almost?
Yeah, so I keep thinking like if I'm going in reverse especially, then I'm just going to launch myself into something.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm still kind of getting used to that.
Sure.
But yeah, it's comfortable.
Nice.
It's easy to see out of. There's the frameless side mirrors are excellent.
Oh, okay. I don't know about those. Yeah, tell me about the frameless side mirrors.
It's just when you look at the mirror from the driver's seat, there's no frame around them.
Okay.
And it's a small thing, but it kind of makes a big difference.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Like a monitor with like super thin bezels, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. So you don't see the housing at all.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
From the driver's seat. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, nice. Like just a mirror kind of almost floating there, huh?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, I get that. So they've like had hidden it kind of like just perspective hidden it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's really cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
Nice.
Yeah, another thing I don't like about I like the way it drives completely, except for like I said, the weirdness with like the initial part of the pedal.
Yeah.
But I know Matt Farah was just talking about this on his show a few weeks ago. But I agree, like the no start button thing, I don't care for.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Like you're just supposed to get in, put your seatbelt on, put it in drive kind of thing.
Yeah. It's more when you get out. There's no like indication that things are stopping.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
And like I was listening to a podcast and there's no way to like, again, you can't switch between screens really easily. So like there was no way to like, I don't know. There was no like, I opened the door and it stopped. It didn't do that. It just keeps going until you close the door and then lock it.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Or you walk away. Which is like, the explosion happens and then you're walking away.
Right.
And I don't care for that. I don't like it.
Yeah, I get that. Like I want a definitive thing. Like it's like, okay, car off, right? Like a switch, right?
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this in the past. It's like when applications that we use design away from the save button.
Yeah.
I don't like that either. I don't like anything that doesn't have like a save or a commit or a whatever.
Right.
I did a thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that was a big learning curve for me initially, way back in the day when I started with Mac OS. To think that you could close all the windows of an application, but the application's still running. It just has no windows, right? And you're like, but I closed all the things. Like, why is this still consuming memory?
Right.
Yeah. I get
that.
Well,
and my thing too with the no start button thing is that like quite often, especially if you have kids, you're doing things outside the car.
Yeah.
And you want climate control to stay on. You want the car to be on.
Right.
And you can't really control when that happens with this.
Fidelity's important, right?
Yeah, I want to be able to say, I mean, it'd be great, like, maybe make it a setting. Like, if you can just disable the stop button, sure.
Right.
Maybe people would prefer that.
Yeah.
But at least give people the option to have control over it.
Yeah. Yeah, have like a setting that's like touchless start-stop or something like that. Right?
Something, yeah. But it would be nice to have that as like a binary, but
yeah.
Other than that, it's been great so far.
Nice, dude. Nice. That's awesome. Nice. It's a good looking car, man. It's a great looking car.
It's really cool. I have a blue one, and there was a rose gold one right next to me, and I was like, "Oh, I almost want to go back in and get the rose gold one."
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they have some cool, like, funky colors, and yeah, I don't know. I'm into it. I like it a lot.
Nice. Have you done any burnouts in it yet?
I haven't. I think they've disabled the traction control off button because I tried.
Okay.
I couldn't get it to go. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I just haven't figured it out yet.
This is now part of like the travel stuff where like you have to learn how to put the air conditioning controls in VIP mode and disable the motion sensor so the fan stays on all the time.
Right.
You got to learn how to truly turn the traction control off on your rental car. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Nice, man. That's awesome. I'm glad you were able to pick one of those up. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. And I mean, it's got the EV thing of like problem solver mode where you just mash it and get away from whatever idiot you need to get away from. So
see, love it. Nice, dude. That's so great.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Okay. Yeah. What else do you want to talk about? Do you want to get to the meat of the show?
Let's get to the meat of the show.
Even though you were almost dead meat?
I was almost the meat.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. In a camper sandwich.
Yeah. No, let's get to it. So
yeah,
we're still kind of going through the cars we drove at RMDE, the Rocky Mountain Driving Experience. And one of the ones that we drove that we released a video on recently was the Toyota Crown.
Yeah.
And so we very much goofed around in that video. This is kind of underselling what a big deal this car is.
Right.
For the North American market. But Dave, how do you want to start talking about the Crown?
Yeah, let's give some context. So we spent a fair amount of time in it, even though we were yelling at it a lot, like you said. Yeah. But we were driving a bunch of things. I think did we come off of the GR Corolla and into the Crown?
That sounds right. Yeah, because we drove it and we had a really good stretch with it. We got kind of lucked out with the stretch of road that we got with it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I think that really frames my opinion of it, to be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
We got to drive it through Rocky Mountain National Park and up over one of the highest points in Rocky Mountain National Park.
Yeah.
And actually the highest point. So we went over a couple of mountain passes in it, yelling at the infotainment the entire fucking way.
Through a rainstorm, a pretty intense rainstorm at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, through a rainstorm, all sorts of crazy weather, various sorts of traffic conditions, because if you've never been to one of the like really big national parks, what happens is you get these big like caravans of people who are going slowly or looking at elk or whatever the fuck, or
your favorite.
Yeah, the looking at the elk thing drives me crazy. But so we had like stretches where there was nobody in front of us, and we had like some twisty roads.
Yeah.
But then we were kind of caught in traffic, and then we had that rainstorm. So it was a really kind of a crazy. We drove it in town too, because we drove it through Estes Park a little bit.
Right.
So yeah, we got a good little test with this, even though it was only about an hour, I think, right?
Yeah, about an hour, yeah.
And I mean, honestly, like, other than our frustrations with the infotainment system and the voice assistant in particular, it was a lovely place to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. I think, like, I keep thinking back to how I felt inside that car, specifically during the rainstorm. Because I think, like, being in a rainstorm in your car is an interesting experience. But this felt more like being in your house during the rainstorm than it did, like, being in the car. Like, you felt really sealed off from things.
Well, and part of it, too, was that we stopped up on top of a mountain pass.
Yeah.
So in Rocky Mountain National Park, there's a few passes, and this is one of the higher ones, above the tree line. So the weather gets pretty intense up there, and I stopped to pee, and we did a driver change, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things where you didn't think about it, and then you open the door and you're like, oh shit, there's things happening out here.
Exactly. Like, yeah, what you're experiencing inside has nothing to do with outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Like howling wind, and I mean, the rain was sideways, and about 35 degrees. It was cold as shit.
Right.
Because you're at 11,000 feet.
Yeah, you got soaked just running to the restroom. I got really wet just running around the car to move seats.
Yeah. It was way more intense. And the thing was, like, we drove on the ridge of that pass in this car right after that. There was no wind shear. There's no drama. Like, it's just, I think it does like exactly what it's supposed to do, which is supposed to be like a Lexus-ish experience in a Toyota, right?
Yep.
I think that's kind of the idea here, right?
Right. Yeah, it feels like, in the Toyota lineup, it's replacing the Avalon, right?
Right.
Yeah, because they stopped making the Avalon, RIP, because it was one of the best bang for the buck sedans to ever exist, right?
Sure.
So it's replacing the Avalon, but it's interesting because it doesn't necessarily like replace it in spirit, right? I think like the Avalon was such a good value with like just solid Toyota build quality. This is definitely like a starter Lexus in like it is like it has a foot in both worlds in a way that the Avalon never did, right?
Well, and I think the Avalon was also, I mean, to be frank, boring.
It was, but I mean, it was what it was. Yeah.
And the Crown is not as boring for a couple reasons. One, just the name, like, is just kind of a cool, like, JDM,
iconic
thing.
Yeah,
it's iconic. And also, like, it's got some funky design things, and it's pretty fast.
Right.
So it's not. It is taking the place of the Avalon in the lineup, especially in the price point. But I don't know that the Avalon buyer is going to buy one of these.
Right. No, I'm glad that we're going down this path because I was listening to a podcast today that I think they said something that really correlates to how I feel about this vehicle. So I was listening to the Get Played podcast, one of my favorites, right? And they were talking with their guest about the writer strike and the strikes that are going on in the film and TV industry, right? And Heather said that one of the kind of key things is that the studios view things that actors and writers and stuff make as content that is meant to be consumed, right? Versus the art, versus the actors and the writers viewing that as art that is being created, right? Like a creation versus a consumable, right?
Okay.
And for this specific vehicle, I feel like the Avalon was more something that fit the ideal of something that is meant to be consumed, right? Like it was very engineered by Toyota accountants to be a thing that like fit neatly in the lineup. It didn't step on Lexus's toes too much, right? It didn't have any passion behind it other than good fiscal value and reliability, right? Like that's it. I mean, it is really just...
And you can see that reflected in the people who bought it.
Right. Yeah. But versus, I think, the Crown, which seems to have like more passion and creativity behind it. It feels like something that was generated more by people that were interested in how it was going to be received, just than it being simply received and like just looking at raw sales data and like a bottom line.
Well, it's also a little weird, which is the other thing.
Right. It's like that creativity comes through. Yeah.
It's a little bit of an odd duck, right? Like it's a lifted
Yeah.
sedan.
Yeah, it's taller. It's a little narrow. It's a little Rolls Royce-y in that, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily. That's why, like, I don't really understand the Avalon thing, because you're not the first person to say that either. Like, because I've read that, and I don't remember if they actually said that to us or not. I don't remember if the brand rep said that either, but it is just like there's something just a little like 10% off about it, which makes it from Toyota. When Toyota does something like weird, you're like, wait, I need to pay attention to this, even if it's just a little weird. You know, like even if there's no other explanation to it, it's just such an off thing for them to do, to bring something weird to the North American market.
Right.
Like, what's happening?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like it's the kind of car that like you don't really fully appreciate just by looking at the numbers, just by like seeing it. I feel like you spend some time in that car and like you can't really go into it thinking that you're going like with 100% of what you're going to get out of it, a vision of what you're going to get out of it. You're going to get something a little bit different. Like you were saying, that kind of like 10% shift, like a weird little sidestep, but you're going to be glad that you got that, right? It's an unexpected kind of win, you know? Yeah. It's like that episode of a TV show that like is normally a 7 out of 10, but for some reason they did like a 9 out of 10 episode of like one series. And you're like, man, like that was crazy. Right. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like a cover version of a song, right? Like
there you go.
A cover song where they're really not, they're doing a really faithful cover, but there's just something, they're doing it. And so it's weird, right?
Yeah.
Like it's almost this, it almost seems like Toyota trying to do a French car.
Okay.
Like a French luxury car.
Like a Citroen C6 or something. That's a good. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a Toyota Citroen.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. This is Square Pusher covering Joy Division Love Will Tear Us Apart.
Oh, wow. I don't think I remember that one. I don't know that. But yeah, I will check that out for sure.
Yeah. It's delightful. Yeah.
But yeah.
Right?
I really liked it. I don't think I understand it, but I liked it.
But that's okay. That's okay. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. It feels like there was more creativity and drive than this, than it was just like something that was designed to fit a market space, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I will say it drove really nicely. It really did.
It did.
I was able to like hustle it a little bit, and it didn't seem too upset by it. It didn't seem like it was like, it was kind of like, this isn't my thing, but it's your thing, so we'll do it. You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times people say like, oh, you know, this car, like it has two personalities. Like, you know, like it could be like a race car and then it's, you know, perfectly at home on city streets, right? Like, no, not a lot of cars are not like that, right? Like they're usually upset about one or the other, you know, right? But this did have like a little bit of like, you know, it wasn't too happy, like you were saying, but like it was fine, you know?
Yeah. It was competent, but not excited about it.
Yeah. You were telling the Japanese businessman to do 5 hours of overtime and, you know, his work ethic says he's going to do it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Whether he's excited about it or not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting. I think all of the touch surfaces are in a little bit of a weird uncanny valley between Toyota and Lexus. You know? Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like they didn't try too hard to make it like Lexus interior build quality. It's very nice, you know, but you feel like you're in something other than a Toyota, but you don't quite feel like you're in a Lexus. It's a little weird in between, you know?
So here's my prediction for this car is that I don't think it's going to sell well.
Yeah.
I think it's not going to sell well, but I think in 15 years or whatever, we're all going to be super excited when we see one of these on the road.
I think you're right. Right. I'm looking forward to being the fourth owner of one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I really think people are going to be like, this is going to be one of those weird cars that was never meant to be like a collectible or a classic or anything, but it's going to kind of turn into that because it's just going to be rare because nobody bought one.
It's going to be an Isuzu Via Cross.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, kind of. And I mean, I think it's nearly as weird as that. It's a really weird, it's a really weird car in today's market. It's so strange because it's not an SUV, but it sort of is.
Yeah,
and
you can tell like they want somebody who doesn't want to spend for a Lexus RX. Yeah. They don't want Toyota Highlander's too basic, but like they have this weird kind of like, how about this, And
they didn't make it a wagon, right? They didn't make it a long roof like a Volvo or an Audi where they're doing the lifted thing or Subaru, like, are we a station wagon or are we an SUV?
You'll never know.
Right. Instead, they just lifted a sedan.
Right.
And put just like a tiny bit of cladding on it. Like, it's very weird. It's a weird car.
Yeah. But I'm here for it. Yeah. Yeah, it's really, I think it goes beyond interesting, like, oh, interesting. No, like, I'd say like it's more towards intriguing for me.
Right. It's like the thing where you see a person and you would be like, is that person beautiful? No. Are they handsome? No. Are they attractive? Yes.
Right.
Could you explain why? No.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's a cool car, man. It's a cool car. Yeah. I don't know. It's priced pretty high. It's priced around what, 45 to 55, depending on what you option it out with. But
the one we drove was more than
that. I think something like that. Yeah, but if you this is definitely like a car for like, I don't want to be like all of them, right? Like somebody that just like definitely thinks about like their choice is influenced by what other people are not doing.
Which again, is it just a weird thing to say about a Toyota?
It is, right? Toyota's been a little bit batty. Yeah. Let's cozy up to BMW and Subaru. And I mean, not to say that any of these moves are wrong, but it's different. Yeah. It's like going home and like finding out that like your mom has somehow taken up skeet shooting. Like it's just like it's just unexpected, right? And it's not like, she started shooting heroin into her eyeball or anything. It's not insane, but it's like, okay, all right. So I guess this is a thing now. Yeah.
That's a really good analogy. That's perfect. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
We don't no reason to be concerned.
No. Yeah, sure. No. Yeah, everybody's
safe. But I'm going to keep my eye on
it. Right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, the Toyota Crown. Yeah. Your mom takes up skeet shooting. Yeah. It's a cool car.
Very cool.
Yeah. I do have a sidebar if you'll permit me just 1 minute of your time, Ian.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I mentioned the Get Played podcast earlier, right? Our dear friend Serrated Mobius, delightful Instagram personality, right? I want him on that show to talk about his favorite game, Ace Combat. The internet just needs to make this happen. Like the Get Played people and Serrated need to come together because he would be a fantastic guest on that show. And I just want to see that. And I just want to put that out into the universe because it needs to happen.
Great. I love it. Yeah. It's the secret, or what is it? You're manifesting.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Now where do I put the jade egg? Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the Toyota Crown for a minute. Okay. So it is Toyota kind of targeting to a market, and that market is a bit upscale, right?
Sure.
Okay. Like, let's compare like Toyota's effort with that versus like, say, the Mercedes EQS and how they targeted that to like a very upscale person. Right. Because
Uh,
I don't feel like there was anything fake behind what Toyota is doing. Like nothing seemed to be like a facade, where I did get that kind of facade feeling from the EQS, right?
so I think we can make that comparison. So the EQS is more than twice
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like
the
4
price of
times
it.
the cost. Yeah, yeah,
But I think at a similar price point, or closer at least, there was another car that we drove that did feel a little like it was putting on airs, I thought.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's going after a very similar buyer to the Toyota Crown,
I know what you're gonna say, and I think you're right. Yeah,
which was the Alfa Romeo. that we drove.
Tonale,
Yeah.
Tonale.
Tonale, yeah.
Yeah,
And because that car, I have to say I was super disappointed in it. Like
Yeah.
I was, it didn't drive especially well.
right.
And I mean I will say like the seating, like when you sit in the cockpit, the one thing that Alfa Romeo just fucking nails with those big fucking shift paddles,
Yeah,
the steering wheel that they have, and the seats and everything, like they kind of nail that.
right.
You know, like
Right.
that initial impression of like this is something special. And
Yeah,
kind of
like
cool.
I'm driving, right?
But to be honest, it's sort of evaporated after like 10 minutes in the car. Like it felt like it drove like it was cheaply made.
Yeah,
Like it was upset in corners.
Yeah.
We drove it on mountain roads and it was not happy.
No, I understeered like across the yellow line at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no feedback to the wheel, to your point, at all.
Yeah.
Like nothing. It felt unfinished.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like they put a lot of money into the marketing and not as much into the engineering and design stuff.
Right.
It looks great. I don't know.
No.
But so it felt, and then you would hear the marketing person talk, and it was like, oh, we're going after upscale, we're going up,
Yeah.
which makes sense because it is stylish and everything, but like, it's not done.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It feels, pardon me, it feels like a veneer, right? It really does.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In the same way that the EQS felt like a veneer of like serenity.
Wow,
a veneer
we're
of
waving our arms, audio listeners, in healing motions. Yeah. Ian's doing Reiki massage on me. Yeah.
A veneer of Zen in the EQS, where the Tonale was kind of a veneer of upward mobility.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the Crown is actual upward mobility, right? Like that is kind of the car that you would get if you were sort of graduating out of like a Camry or something like that.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Whereas this is like you want people to think you're doing that.
Right. Yeah. The Tonale. Yeah. I've thought about that vehicle a couple times. That was the very first thing that we drove. Because I cheated and I picked it out of the hat specifically, right? Mm-hmm. Because some of the names were face up, and I was like, well, Daddy's taking this one. Because on paper, we were excited to drive, right?
I really wanted to like it. I mean, on paper is loving the Quadrifoglio, and even the
base Giulia is great.
The base Giulia is fantastic. Like, because of its flaws, even its flaws kind of help its case in some ways, and this it just didn't. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it felt 100% badge engineered. It really did. Like we are trying to get you more money out of you with minimal effort.
Yeah,
I
will say It looks great. It really does.
It does. It looks great.
And the other things in the segment, it looks good.
Yeah. Amazing green on that car. Yeah.
Yeah, the green. The green looked really good.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way it drove was not was not great. And it just felt like, you felt like somebody was trying to get one over on you in the same way that I think I had that same reaction in the Mercedes, albeit for twice the fucking money.
Yeah. 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 The tonale was a meal you had at a restaurant that you paid a little too much for and you could cook at home.
Yes.
Right? Or even better at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the I don't know.
That's a really good analogy. Yeah. Like, yeah, the salmon dish where you're like, I could.
Right. Right. Yeah. Why was that $43? Yeah. Right.
That's exactly.
Yeah. 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 No, I'm glad that you brought that up because I think that they are really like the Crown versus Tonale. Like they are like Toyota is definitely doing it more successfully as far as like providing substance to what you're getting. I feel like, unfortunately, the Tonale will probably be a little bit more successful than the Crown.
Probably. Right? Yeah, because it's more of a like, look at what I've done.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Nobody's going to be impressed that you're driving a Toyota Crown.
Yeah.
Except for these idiots, right? Like,
yeah, the Crown has a little bit of the Volkswagen Phaeton working against it, right? Nobody's going to want to brag about spending $60,000 on a Toyota, but they would brag about spending the same amount on a Lexus and an Alfa Romeo.
Or an Alfa Romeo, yeah, 100%,
right?
Yeah, and I do think like people would cross shop these two, which I think is bizarre to say, but I think it's true. They're targeting the exact same buyers.
Yeah,
and I mean, if it was my money, I would take the Crown.
Oh, hands down. Not even a second thought. Yeah. Yeah.
I completely understand why people take the Alfa, but it honestly is not as capable as like a fast car than the Toyota Crown, which is crazy to say.
Right.
Yeah. It was I was very disappointed with how this car drove.
Yeah, that would hit hard, right? Like you put the Alpha badge on something, and I want it to live up to that. You know? Like we had a delightful time in the base, Julia. Was there 19 different fonts that we identified with all within 2 feet of each other? Yes.
Yeah.
Were some of them all caps and some of them not? Am I concerned that like something is just going to fall off of it? 500 miles in, sure. But you know what? Those fucking Italians, man. They know how to make a car that drives right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they also did this, so who knows?
Well, yeah, they did.
I mean, because it was like simple shit. Like there was no feedback to the front, and then it felt like it was one of those things where like the front end and the back end felt like they were in different cars.
Yep, 100%. Yeah.
Which is not confidence inspiring.
No, very un-alpha-ish, right?
Yeah.
No, they just stuck the fucking badge on from something else. Yeah.
Disappointing.
Yeah. Do better, Alpha. Good job, Toyota.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't think we'd be saying that sentence on the show.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Unless it was not being able to justify paying for a AAA membership for a year.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Well, yeah, we had a delightful time making that Toyota Crown video. So
yes, please go check that out. It's on YouTube and all the social medias. Oh man, it was so much fun. I will say I cracked up for hours editing our back and forth portion of it. Oh my god. Right?
Yeah. I did create a Patreon post with the extended cut, 2 minutes instead of one.
Thank you.
So that went out to our Patreon subscribers. You can check our Linktree link in our YouTube description, or just email me if you can't sign up for our Patreon. Just email apexadjacent and just ask us for the link. We'll send it to you.
there were a lot of silly voices that I had to cut,
Yeah.
and it was painful, but I'm glad that it's living on as a Patreon post. That's good.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, that's why you bring Ian and Dave to the car event. So yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yep. Ian, we've done a car show. Like, I want an album of the week. I got a little plug at the end.
That sounds great. Let's do it. So you want me to do album of the week now?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to do sort of a non-album album.
Okay. All right. Okay.
This is what I watched on the plane today.
Oh, okay.
It is a concert from 1980.
Okay.
It is the B-52s.
Oh, hell yeah.
In 1980.
Okay.
And, oh my God. I mean, the video footage is not great. Sounds great. The sound is good. But I've talked about B-52s on the show before, I think. But, like, there's a couple of bands from that era where there was a point in my adulthood where I was like, oh, they were fucking rock bands and they slayed. You know, they ripped when they were young.
Yeah.
Before they did Love Shack and all these other things, which is what most people know them for. But back in the day, they were just like painfully cool. And it's crazy to think about, like, if you were like 25, you were listening to this, or you were listening to like fucking Foghat, which is like the least cool thing that you could possibly do, right? But like, this was a contemporary of that,
right. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah, you do not mentally put those two together. Yeah.
No, because they're in separate genres. And also, the other thing that I always have to keep reminding myself is that, 1980 is only 16 years after the Beatles appeared in the U.S. for the first time.
Oh, wow. Holy shit. Okay.
Right? Like,
whoa. These, like,
I want to hold
things.
I want to hold your hand to this.
Yeah.
It was only like a decade and a half.
Right.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
We're further away from, 2000.
Right.
Than they were to the Beatles appearing in the U.S. for the first time.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, this just rips, and it's an hour, and it's Give Me Back My Man. Oh my God, is so good in this. Dance This Mess Around, which is one of my favorite songs of theirs.
Okay.
Just listen to any early B-52s. That's my album of the week.
Okay.
Watch this thing on YouTube, or listen to the first two records. They rip, and they're awesome.
Nice.
And they deserve more respect than they get.
Yeah, for sure. I do, while I'm working, I do enjoy throwing a concert video on YouTube and like just having that going in the background. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I will say this era, like, I love stuff from this era, like late 70s, early 80s, like post-punk or new wave or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Stuff. Like, there's also a really great Talking Heads concert from around the same time, like 79 or 80.
Okay.
That's same thing, just like super raw, and they're very tight, you know, like they're tight, but it sounds angry a little bit.
Okay.
It's so good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Okay. Yeah.
I can't recommend this enough. It's great.
Yeah. You had an airport experience, so you kind of needed something to blow off some steam, huh?
The airports today, both the airports today, were just awful.
I'm sorry, buddy.
A mess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, the B-52s soothed your soul. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, dude. Okay. I like that. Links to the YouTube video that Ian's referencing here, the full concert, 11/7/1980, will be in the YouTube description of our show, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. And I do want to just like throw in a quick plug for our buddy Peter Holderith. Right? Remember, he was on the show, made his own sweet electric go-kart.
Yes.
So you definitely need to follow him on Twitter. Do you remember his Twitter handle, Ian?
It is Bald Tires, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is Bald Tires. Let's see here.
And he brought some very needed East Coast energy.
Yeah, he did.
Because I feel like we get kind of bogged down in kind of this like West,
right,
lovey-dovey
mountain
sort of
vibe.
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Dave more than me probably, but he really brought the East Coast.
Yeah, snappiness. Yeah,
this is better. This is bad.
Right.
Energy to the show, which I think is sometimes lacking.
It's always nice when a guest supplements, right, and rounds out, like provides some shading into our line.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. But he's at _Bald Tires on Twitter. He's hilarious, and you just need to follow him and watch his videos and stuff. But he started this project that if you follow him on Twitter, you've probably seen a bunch of stuff about it. He's been making this cool little weather orb thing. And I signed up saying that I was interested in the project because I have Raspberry Pis and Pi Zeros and stuff like that. I'm a tinkerer like that, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid of a soldering iron, but I'm not too great with it. But his intent is to make these sweet little weather orbs that you can set up that show like NOAA satellite images and stuff like that, or like open webcams and stuff like that. So, let me go to his media tab here and just kind of show a picture of what it looks like. Yeah, here you go. Here's a good one. Yeah. So, he did send out an email or make a Twitter post where you can sign up to be informed about these things. I think it's just the coolest little display thing, and I would love to have it on my desk. And yeah, so I want to plug it because he's going to be going to Kickstarter when he does that. We'll talk about it on the show briefly. But yeah, he makes awesome electronics projects, and his electric go-kart is fantastic. And I love this little weather orb buddy.
I don't know if you saw, but I responded to him like the other week because he was posting about these, and I similarly I've just been watching it and following along because they are very cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want these to be aftermarket gauges in like a 1970s Rolls Royce.
There you go. Yeah.
Right? Like this should be how you do like a Bluetooth radio or
right.
Or or navigation or something like that in an old luxury car,
right?
Like a Silver Shadow from the late 70s.
Yes,
sort of thing.
Yeah. It definitely has like that like futuristic but analog vibe, right?
Yeah, the retrofuturism thing going for sure. Yeah, and I think it would look great as one of those. But yeah, I also like this is a cool gadget for sure.
Right? Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, definitely check out Peter's Twitter account. Find the link to sign up if you're interested in something like this. A little bit of they'll have. I think he's planning to do full kits that you solder, and then some like pre-made, ready to go, and like you'll be able to pick what tier you want. If you already have a Pi, I think he's going to have an offering for that. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that plug in there. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Ian, thanks for beaming in from the hotel, Mr. Polestar, you Polestar.
Yeah. Polestar
buddy.
man.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah.
Did we do a car show?
We did. I'm just really thankful for you, buddy. And it's good to talk to you tonight.
You too. I'm sorry I took up most of the conversation about camping and bears.
Oh my God, you
people. But.
Fucking meat sack. I love it so much. Yeah. As soon as this podcast is over, I'm gonna leave my office and go tell my wife that story. If she's already asleep for the night, I will wake her up and tell her. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
And
it's
then
a good
Jenny pushed you. Yeah.
Tell the people what they should do.
They should definitely subscribe to us on YouTube. Send us vanity plates 720-515-1391. Let us know what you think about the Toyota Crown, or if you have any questions about it, drop those in the YouTube comments. because we'd love to answer anything that we can, because I think we had a good little time in it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Everybody, thank you so much. We love you. Goodbye.